And now, fresh off a 30-year break from his life in over-the-air radio, here's the host of the most originally named 15 Years Too Late podcast, JaySapChats.
All right, welcome to the podcast, Ryan French. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Early.
You can barely hear me.
Yeah.
All right, some of the kinks that have to be worked out. This is let me turn up. I'm up as high as possible. How about you?
Yeah, I am too. I don't know. I can hear you. I just.
You want me to yell at you the whole time?
Oh, it sounds good. I can hear you. I think.
All right. Well, so I think the first issue we have to address is like I invite you on my pod, but you've never invited me on your pod, right?
I mean, that's a very valid point. I thought about it. You've helped me a lot, and so now I feel bad. To start the pod, I feel bad about it.
All right. Truth is, we've known each other for what, 5 or 6 years now, and you've been a great friend of mine. You're as real as it gets on X, and I love your content, and I wanted to chat with you and share you with my audience. And when I say my audience, I mean I think I have like 200 followers on X. I've got 2 subscribers to the YouTube channel. I mean, like
I started with 0, Jay. I had no idea where it was going. So, like 2 was probably more than I had at the beginning.
That's awesome. All right. So Ryan, I'll tell you the reason why I start the pod like this, right? Which is like, you can't hear or I was in over the air radio for almost 8 years. And it amazes me. I've done a few podcasts on the other side where I've been a guest. And like you get these 5 or 10 minute conversations and the recording's not going. And like I said to a guy the other day, I'm like, can I not answer that question? Because I don't want to waste the answer. And he's like, well, you could just say it again when we get on tape. Like, I can't say it again when we get on tape. Like, the way it's going to come out of my face is the way it's going to come out the first time. That's it.
Yeah, 100%. I have that same conversation with people. It's just like they start to tell the story, like, hey, how's it going? Oh, great. I'm like, whoa, dude. Like, and that's why, people always ask me like, hey, can I send you over questions? I was like, no, because then it's going to just sound prepared. And I don't want it to be like that. So 100%, I agree with you. To have a conversation and have the same conversation is somewhat pointless.
Yeah. Well, and I watched that happen the whole time I was in the business. And I vowed that we're going to just make this as genuine as possible. So look, format's going to be 2 friends chatting. Candidly, like I've known you the last 5-6 years, but I really don't know you, and I don't know where you came from. I mean, I know where you came from, but I don't know where you came from. And, to me, that's the type of stuff I'd love to learn. So, where were you born?
Yeah, born where I live now, Alpena, Michigan. My parents grew up here and came back here. My dad was CEO of a small company that put mentally and physically handicapped people into the workplace. And so, I he definitely was one. He turned down higher paying jobs, and kind of like that was his calling to help handicapped folks find a place in this world. And so definitely learned a lot from, about giving back from him. And my parents went to Michigan State, where I graduated from also, and my brother, and they were gone in the Detroit area for a few years, but have called Alpena home for their entire life. And my grandparents, one set was from here and one set lived most of their life here. So, and after my dad got sick, I was the kid that grew up in a small northern Michigan town, Jay, that said I would never come back here. And I'm sitting in my house here.
And brothers and sisters?
One of each. So my sister lives in Chicago, and my brother just retired from the auto industry. He was an auto exec and has a couple of houses.
What was your early when you like think back, right? We all think back to our childhood, right? Like I think about how my parents 9 a.m. I'd leave the house at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. I wouldn't come home till dinner time. I knew when dinner was every night. I had to come home. Cell phones, texting, any of that stuff. Like when you think about your childhood, like at what age do you start, and like where are the earliest memories from? And
Yeah, it all surrounds around golf because both of my parents worked full time. So um, my brothers and sisters, my brother's 8 years older than I am, and my sister is 4 years older than I was. So they both went to college as soon as they graduated from high school. So for a long time, I was an only child at home. But even when my sister was there, my brother was there, my mom worked till 5 o'clock, 5:30. And so, my earliest childhood memories are getting off the bus. And the one place my parents allowed me to go, even at a young age, was the golf course because it was in our backyard. And so, that was it. For people that don't know, we didn't have a television. So we were watching I think it was the Stanley Cup Finals in 1986, and the TV started on fire. And the only memory of that is that my dad, the TV was in the basement, and our fire extinguisher was on the third floor where our bedrooms were, and or second floor, whatever, three floors, 2 floors away. And my dad yelled up to my mom to get the fire extinguisher, and she said she couldn't lift it. And my dad got so mad and ran up the stairs. And my parents never got their TV fixed. 32 years they went without a television in their house until they were like super older. And it wasn't they were like against it or anything like that. They just were like, oh, we'll get it fixed next week, and we'll get it fixed next month and next year. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, we don't really need it. And it's where my sports nerd came from, because I got all of my news from the newspaper, where you learn 1,000 times more than you would watching Sports Center.
So
in those days, pre-internet.
So your mom worked full time, your dad worked full time. What was the dinner like? What was dinner situation like? Mom got home.
Yeah, it was traditional, except like my mom wasn't a great cook. She was a wonderful mother, but wasn't a great cook. So it was a lot of but she was a district manager for Weight Watchers, so it was always like healthy food, put together quick. But like we always did family meals. I say this all the time, is I took for granted, both for my golf career and just like as a father, is that my dad, obviously the times were a little bit different, Jay, but like my dad was home most days, at 5:15. And I didn't appreciate the sacrifice that took when you're running a company. And so that helped me in golf. It helped me in life. But yeah, we had traditional family, like, the phone was taken off the hook and we caught up about our day.
Wait, the phone was taken off the hook? What are you talking about?
For the kids, yeah, the phone was taken off the hook during our dinner.
Yeah, like just off the hook, and wouldn't it go beep, 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 beep?
Yeah. We used to unplug my mom used to unplug the cord itself so it wouldn't beep.
And you would sit and talk at dinner time as a family?
Yeah. I'd like take it. I never even thought about it till you just brought it up. No one's ever said anything, but yeah, that was weird. That's definitely weird.
Well, it's interesting, right? So, okay, your brother, so to me, like I look at it, like my sister was 6 years older than me, right?
Yeah.
And so I understand what that age gap really is, which is significant. When your brother is 13, you're 5.
Yeah.
And you're going to the golf course?
Yeah, 6 was when I first picked up the game, Jay, and then, by 7.
14, a 6-year-old and a 14-year-old on the golf course, completely incompatible.
Yes, 100%. And my brother and I didn't get along for a long time. That age gap is pretty tough to overcome. But he dragged me along, and we would go hack it around. He would just leave me at the putting green, which was fine. Again, the world was so different. Like, I don't remember. I'm sure there was people who were pissed that I was there every day. Yeah. But no, I don't remember anyone ever saying like, why is this kid here every day? We were members. It's a little muni course. when I say members, it was like $450 for a family or whatever a year. But I don't ever remember being, and my brother would just go out and screw. I don't even know if he was on the golf course, to be frank. Jay probably said he was on the golf course and he was out with his girlfriend. I don't know.
Yeah. So you get older, you're playing, you're at the golf course. Did you get good?
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely, big fish in a small pond. I remember practicing with the high school team. They invited me out when I was like in 6th, 7th grade. It's
10,
a small
11 years
town.
old.
And yeah. And like people, word gets out. You play in the local tournaments and you're like beating kids that are older than you. And
You were
so
better than
then
your older brother.
I was like, when my brother played on the golf team for a little bit, but when I was in 6th grade, he had just graduated. And so but my sister was in high school, and the coach was Mr. Gapsky was the longtime golf coach, and he invited me out. And, I mean, golf and my childhood are hand in hand. It was almost always related to golf.
So at what point are you and your brother and your dad didn't bond over golf the way you and your dad bonded over golf? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they.
I'm just
I mean, they
feeling
bought
that
it
from this conversation. I never asked.
No. Yeah, my brother was not an easy kid. Not that I was easy. I'm like, we're all different, but he wasn't a huge sports, and he didn't love golf. And so, my dad had stopped playing for a long time until I came along. He was a good golfer pre-kids, and then I think once my sister came along, he kind of, like we all do, you don't play as much.
I mean, they totally ruin your golf game.
100%.
I went from a
100%.
low single-digit handicap or mid-single-digit handicap to, this is on tape, so I really can't tell untruths. The mid-single-digit to like a middle, like a 15, 16. So now I have to actually be kind to 15, 16 handicaps now because I was once one.
Yeah, 100%. Like I was a scratch golfer, and then I quit playing outside of like a couple scrambles here and there per year, but
terrible.
I quit playing for years, and then the expectations changed too. It's like, I still think I should play like I used to.
So you and your dad start bonding over golf. He starts playing more golf. Nothing better than golf with your dad. Like, that's awesome. Okay. And then like the next part of your story, or at least you could tell me the timeline, like when do you and he, and how does it come about that you figure out to take these golf adventures together? Was it prep for college? Like, I want to play in college someday, or my son could be something, or I want to expose him to pro golf. Like, where's that whole impetus for your love of, I mean, you're not 9 years old looking at, I mean, are you looking at stats in the,
I mean, I remember I didn't read articles, but I remember looking in the back of Golf Week for, whatever it was at the time, Ben Hogan Tour, web.com or whatever it is. And I got to know through a family member in Alpena, Greg Kraft, who is like exactly what I cover now. He won one time in Puerto Rico, bounced back and forth a million times, and got to play with him once in Alpena, and kind of got to know him, met him a few times in Flint at the Buick Open. And so it was always like that. I always say Greg kind of like pulled me into that world. I was pretty young back then. And
you're literally the only human being. I mean, not to be, I know Greg Kraft, right? You're the only human being inspired by Greg Kraft to pursue a life in golf.
Oh, 100%. I tell my Kent Jones story is that I was at a Bob Evans in Flint during the Buick Open, and I went up to Kent Jones. I said hello. For those that don't know, he's a very obscure pro golfer. And I said, hey, does anybody recognize you outside of, the ropes? And he's like, dude, the fact that you recognize me means you need some help. Like, you need to find a new hobby.
Hey, is there anything better than journeyman golfers? I remember I was at the SEI Invitational. By the way, I was the one who got SEI back into golf through founding the Exelon Invitational. That was the first golf sponsorship they ever did. And then they ended up on a PGA Tour sponsorship with, the big boys. And Joey Sindelar won about 4 miles wide. and comes out to pass the ropes, and there was a woman standing there, and he goes, ma'am, she said to him, she said, oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Sindelar, because she was sort of in his way, and he looked at her and he said, you're sorry. You see where I just hit this damn thing? I mean, those guys, like, forget it. It's nothing like it is today. Today, Joey Sindelar would be on the range grinding, and you would never see him in the bar. He wouldn't, he'd be robotic or not talking to the fan. Back then, they were like
100%.
He probably stayed at the woman's house for all I know.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how close they were. So, all right, back to your story. You and your father are starting into this journey of kind of coming close together, right?
Yeah. I mean, golf has always been a huge part of our relationship. It was for my entire life, even, as an adult. And so I always say is like, whenever I was in trouble or got bad grades or good grades for that matter, like those talks always happened on the golf course. And then I played junior college golf, and after college was the time that Dad and I would go on these mini tour caddy trips.
You go away on vacation with your dad alone pre-college?
No, I mean, I'm sure we did. Like, we went to junior events and stuff like that, but we never did just typical, family vacations, stuff like that. But we never did golf trips. I mean, as you know, Jay, like things were just different back then. I mean, it was a big trip to like play in the Big I State Finals, 3 hours away. Now you got to, like, if you're a junior with any sort of talent, you got to play in 97 events across the nation. So it was just different.
I mean, listen, you're talking to a guy who, your golf was my racetracks with my father. And we vacationed in Pownell, Vermont because there was a dog track close by. So trust me, I understand the concept of different time. And I tell
100%.
I tell my kids that, and they're like what? They don't even have any, they don't have any idea or even understand. But all right, so you're a good high school golfer. You get recruited?
Yeah, I got recruited to small colleges and decided on Lansing Community College. Goal was to go to Michigan State. I kind of grew up in a Michigan State thing. So went to LCC. I say it all the time, Jay, is like, if there's such thing as a good junior golf program, LCC was it. They'd won like some national titles and stuff like that. So and then
first time living away from home.
Yeah, first time. And I mean, my parents thought I was a mama's boy still. Like, talked to my mom. She lives down the road. It's the main reason we moved back is my dad and mom. And
I mean, you were the baby of all babies. I mean, you're
100%. And it was like
gap.
Yes. I mean, and I got away with stuff. My brother and sister, they were like, I was the last kid. And they were like, I mean, they were like, oh, no way Ryan makes it on his own. And I was like, see you later. But and then my wake up moment is like trying to walk on at Michigan State and tell the stories. Like, there's an easy course and a difficult course at MSU. And I was like, they knew who I was because I played at LCC. And so they're like, you just come out to the tryouts. And on the easy course, I shot like, I don't even remember. I'm going to make this number up, but it was like 75. And I didn't play bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. And I get in and all these guys are like, man, I played terrible. And I was like 13th, out of whatever. And I was like, oh, geez, we're in trouble. And so, never played there. And then after college, my dad and I mean, again, we bonded over sports all the time. We called
Detroit through and through, right? You're like all the Detroit teams, end of story.
Yeah.
No competition with dad. Like, you're not one of these. I grew up in Philly. I'm a Dallas.
No. Yeah, we all loved the same thing. And I mean, people don't, like pre-internet, kids will just never understand this. But as a Michigan State grad, I remember calling my dad. This is young. This is pre-college, and telling my dad that Magic Johnson had AIDS. And I cannot explain to people. Yeah, I can't explain to people who don't have the internet how like devastating that phone call is. You're just like, what? That's impossible. Like, it was so, just news is so. Anyway, that like that was a typical, like if anything happened crazy in sports, I would call my dad at work. And that was true before I left home and after I left home. It's like, we would call and talk about golf. And
Crazy. That was June. That was like June, right? When it happened, I think.
Yeah.
I remember I was at KVEG radio station. I was in college, and I was with Rod Stoll, who was very famous, the Rod and Ray Show, and Joe Chevalier, who ended up being on a big sports network, the Joe, Papa Joe Show. And we all sort of found out together, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was just crazy. And you had a personal connection because of somewhat. It wasn't too personal, but because of the mission.
It's not that personal.
But listen, Magic, I mean, he's definitely kept a lot more people alive with his
100%.
With his openness to confront it head on like he did. I mean, I can imagine how many lives the guy saved. It's incredible.
Oh my God. I mean, I don't know how to say this politically correct, but like Magic Johnson's the best thing that's ever happened to HIV in so many senses, because he's just like, he was such a legend that people were like, oh, it can just happen to
he never hid
anyone. Yeah.
He never hid. Like, he was kind of, he just went out there with it, and he let people know, and that there's power in that. So cool. I mean, we're talking with Ryan French. Ryan is incredibly successful. He's got 170K plus followers on X, formerly Twitter. I think you're probably 40, 50, 60 on Instagram. He provides content, if you're not familiar with him, on the journeyman grinder and young up-and-comers and people you've maybe heard of, never heard of, tours you've never heard of. I mean, like, if you're a golf nerd, sports nerd, if you like the underdog, Ryan is like the biggest champion of the underdog. He's done some amazing things. He's got this awesome foundation that we're going to talk about as well later, but we're right now learning about his journey, and it's an incredible journey. So we're now post-Michigan. Let's go post-Michigan State. All right. I don't want to spend too much time in college with you. I'm afraid of what we'll learn. Any serious girlfriends to this point?
Yeah. I was married, Jay.
Oh, you were, not to your current wife or to your current wife?
No, I was married to my longtime girlfriend.
Okay.
Slash
Does
wife.
anybody know that? Is this like a revelation?
Yeah, it's in the book. It's in Ball in the Air for sure.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right. I missed that in my pre-show research. So you're married. How long that last?
7 years.
It's not bad. No kids.
No kids.
Okay. So pretty easy out.
Yeah.
Just grow apart. What?
Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, yeah, there was two young people. I had a job that, and within 100% my fault. I'm not blaming the owner of the restaurant. We worked hard. I ran a group of restaurants. The owner was a younger guy.
Yeah.
And we worked hard and played hard.
Yeah,
and
it's a hard business, the restaurant business. You work late hours. You're with the same people all the time. It's not conducive to a young marriage sometimes, especially if you had, listen, not everybody gets their head screwed on straight the first time. So you're into the restaurant business right out of college.
Yep. Yeah.
And
so
like a server, what are you doing? Like, what's the first job?
No, so I was a manager at a Burger King during college. And then I got a job at Qdoba as a quick service restaurant. And I just happened to get into the right business. I mean, the restaurant business is great. There's just not a lot of college educated people. And so you can move up relatively quickly. And the franchise I with at the time had 3 restaurants. I was running the one in East Lansing and making, $35,000. I thought I was like, I was rich.
This is like early 90s, right?
Yeah. Late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's okay. So that's not terrible money.
Yeah. And then I just grew with them. Like they started to grow, and I was within 4 years, I was the director of operations overseeing, multiple stores. And so, it was very, I don't do this now, but I don't hate the restaurant business. I hated the hours and stuff like that, but I I didn't hate the restaurant business at all.
So you're in the restaurant business. You're what, 6, 7 years in?
Yeah.
And then when do you make your first, like, what's the first pivotal that you can point to, right? We all have stopping and starting points. You work for the same guy for 6, 7 years?
Almost 10. Almost 10 total.
All right. And then something happens. What happens and where do you go next? Like, what's the next move?
Yeah. It's in Ball in the Air if anyone wants to read it. But, I mean, I went through some pretty rough mental health struggles. And that was, I mean, those trips that we talked about earlier were, saved my life.
You started to go away with your dad.
Yeah, I mean, we had done it before that, and then during that time, those trips were pretty vital to me staying alive. I was pretty depressed and drinking too much and doing. Yeah, I was in a bad spot in my life for sure.
How long were you in that period, Rye?
Almost a couple of years, Jay. Yeah, I mean it.
Were you working at the time or no?
I mean, off and on when I could. When I held down a job, again, I would have been a CEO of a restaurant business at one time. And, when I got divorced, I drank too much and
I totally get it. Listen, I mean, that's not too unlike my story. I mean, aside from, I wasn't married before my first wife, but, at 22 years old, I had the keys to a dry cleaning empire handed to me and I pissed it away. I mean, I tell people today, like I would have literally, I look back at my life, I could have been the play-by-play announcer for the Phillies. I could have been the dry cleaning king of Las Vegas. I mean, there were just so many different directions that my life could have gone, but similar, right? Very in my mentals and, just didn't get that. In fact, I had a friend once say to me, he said, I cannot believe this. He said to me, I think I was like 35 or 36 years old. He said, I cannot believe you're not rich yet. That's what he said to me because of how hard I worked. Like I worked so hard at everything I did, Ryan. Like I was a grinder. Like I was an hourly employee at the dry cleaners, but like I would clock out and stay 4 more hours because I loved the owner of the dry cleaners and I wanted to learn the business.
Yeah.
And I did nothing with it.
Yeah. I mean, I very much the same, Jay. It's like, I could have owned the restaurants that I took over. He sold them back to corporate. And I did the same thing. I mean, we would work till 8 o'clock, go drink till 1 a.m. and I was back at the restaurant at 5:30.
Crazy.
And so, it ended. I mean, that part of my life ended me trying to jump out of a window in Las Vegas. And that was kind of the
it's always Las Vegas, right?
That's why windows, I tell this story all the time. It's literally why windows don't open up in Las Vegas.
They call it the hitting bottom capital of the world for a reason.
100%. And that was my rock bottom. And from there, kind of slowly started my climb back, got back into the restaurant business and luckily met my wife.
When you get back into the restaurant business, like what age are you right there?
Let's see. My wife and I have been married 13 years. And so, 15 years ago. So I was like 32. And I actually went back and worked for corporate Qdoba, moved to Chicago, met my wife. She changed my life. And, I got back into the restaurant business, started running multiple units. McAllister's Deli was my last job. And then, we had our daughter, Annie, and then Jackson. Jackson's the reason, that I'm on this podcast.
I would just stay on Steph for 1 second. Because I feel like my wife changed my life, right? My girlfriend at the time, she kind of gave me an ultimatum. She said she didn't. I know she did, right? Change your life or I'm out of here. I don't want to live like this. Which was the chaos, right? Total chaos, which is like what I used to love when I was a kid. You don't go to college in Las Vegas because you like things normal. Did Steph like? I tell my wife, I tease her. I'm like, Amy likes projects. Like all her boyfriends before me were all like, I tell her they were all dirtbags. Now a little bit of that is competitive, but a little bit of that is true. And I was a project. Like was Steph like? Was she a project girl?
I look at it a little different, Jay, but the same way is that Steph and I were open about who we were. A lot of my mental health issues were that I hid any issues of how I felt or what I did behind closed doors, gambling, drinking, whatever. I covered that up from everyone, and everyone thought like, "Oh, Ryan, I'm the guy who attempted suicide," and was like, "What? No one ever saw that."
You were a stuffer.
Yeah, exactly.
And so your feelings.
Yeah. So Steph has had some depression issues. She had a fiance that passed away in her bed next to her, had a heart attack. And so I was just like, hey, this is me. And she's like, yeah, and this is me. And I have type 1 diabetes and I have depression, I have anxiety. And it was like so refreshing to be like, I don't have to be someone that I thought I had to be. And that
I took the opposite route, Ryan. I lied about everything. Then it got uncovered. She didn't leave. And then she slowly started to change all the things that she didn't.
Yeah, fair. It's like, I say it all the time.
Different.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I knew how to be a better husband. I'm not perfect, honestly, like obviously, and like, but I'm a decent husband now because I was a pretty shitty one the first time around.
Yeah,
and so
understood. So, all right, just one thing you said I want to touch on for a second because it sounds delicious. McAllister's Deli.
Yeah, McAllister's is like
where is it?
Mostly Midwest. It's pretty big.
Is it a chain?
Yeah, I'm out of the restaurant business game, but it used to be 200 or 300.
Wow, I never heard of it.
Yeah, they have big potatoes. They have like and then sandwiches, salads. Yeah, it's just a quick service. It's a pretty big menu.
I never heard of McAllister's Deli. I never heard of it.
Yeah, so I ran.
How big the world is, like that. You could have 200 or 300 restaurants, and in my 50s, I've traveled through the Midwest. I covered Chicago as a territory. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, 100. I mean, it's the restaurant business is full of, and again, it can be, for all I know, McAllister's has 25 left for, but restaurants is a fickle game, as most are, but very fickle in the restaurant business. So I ran a group of McAllister's Deli for a family in Chicago.
So you then have, so then you just fast forward, you have Annie, your firstborn, your daughter. A couple years later, Jack, they're 2 years apart?
They're very close apart. Jack was very unplanned.
Okay.
It was one day we'll tell Jack the story of my wife opening the door and crying, saying I'm pregnant again. And
please, my baby, so my wife and I, we have 3.5 years between, and I'll never forget, I was sitting at my desk and she said, I have a surprise for you when you come home. And, I love seafood casserole, and I thought that she made seafood casserole for dinner. I thought that was a surprise. And she tells me that she was pregnant. So we always refer to my youngest as seafood casserole.
Yeah. Jack and Annie are less than 2 years apart. So
listen, my wife is, they have twins. They've got 4 under. They had 4 under 4. I mean, that's
insane.
That's
insane. Yeah.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, right?
Yeah. So my wife was a nurse, inner city. I was running a group of restaurants. We had Jack, and then year and a half later, Jack had brain surgery, and
he's 1.5 years when he had brain surgery.
Yeah, he's just under 2, Jay, and
you're in the restaurant business, so let's just set this up for a second. You're in the restaurant business, right?
Yep.
And Jack gets sick, and you take him in. He has to have surgery. It's not emergency, right? It's like it's going through a process, and then
I mean, leading up to that was a nightmare. So Jack has Chiari malformation, but we didn't know that. Jack vomited almost every day of his life, but he wasn't sick when he was born. So, looking back, we should have pushed harder, but like, they're like, oh, you're overfeeding him. Oh, he's lactose intolerant. So you go through all these doctors is like, you go to, you just go to, like, how much are you feeding him?
You don't know what to do. Ben didn't speak for the first 2 years of his life. I mean, my son didn't speak.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah,
it's like you're in it, but you're not. It's like surreal because you have experts and you have like, you're trying different things. And I mean, now you look back at it and say what we should have done, but like, welcome to life.
Yeah. It was like, oh, you're feeding him too much. So then, doctor says, write down what you feed him for 30 days. So there's a month. And then, oh, well, that's not it. Okay, it's lactose intolerant. Let's try this for 30 days. And then, oh, we don't know. So we're going to pass you to a gastro, pediatric, and those in the healthcare. That's another 3-month wait because the kid's not emergent. So you got to get there. So anyway, the gastro doctor found nothing and was like, he must have a brain tumor. He didn't say it in those words, but we got referred to a pediatric neurosurgeon. And he had an MRI. And my wife's a nurse and knows most anything, but I don't remember why or how. Must have been on a portal or something, but we read the results of the thing and we had no idea. And that 24 hours was absolute nightmare. You find out he has Chiari. You don't know what it is. Anyway, long story short, Chiari's part of his brain is down the hole in his skull, and the skull pushes on that part of the brain. And so different symptoms for different kids. For Jack, it was puking and can't reach across his body and little things like that. And
so you're in the restaurant business. The furthest thing from your mind is being an entrepreneur, start your own business. So you're not even considering it, right? Like you're in, I don't want to say recovery mode, but you didn't sort of capitalize on the opportunity to own restaurants and, become like Junior Bridgman, right? So you start a family, you're content, you're working for various other managing restaurants, right? 2-income family, 2 kids, small. And now Jack goes through, well, the family really, everybody's going through it, is going through this incredible life event. And take me to like, had you ever been on Twitter before? Had you ever?
I had my own Twitter account for a while, but I didn't do social media. I didn't do MySpace for those that are Facebook. I've never had a Facebook account. I still don't know how to use Instagram. Somebody like today, I was trying to post on it and a friend helps me out, or my wife does.
Yeah. I mean, you grew up without a television set. To think that you're a social media icon is like mind blowing.
So I say nanny, but that would make us sound like we had money. Our babysitter, our longtime babysitter, had just graduated from college and left.
Remember back in the day when you had a babysitter that actually worked for like a quarter of minimum wage because they enjoyed taking care of your kids and wanted that, and it was like it takes a village.
Yeah.
Yeah, those days are long gone. I mean,
long gone.
But like, I mean, it used to be a babysitter was a neighborhood girl. You'd give her $2. She was 13 or 14 years old. You'd give her $2 an hour,
100%.
And she'd be super happy with it. And now it's like,
we paid her $15 an hour cash, and it was like, holy. I mean, at the end of the week, you were like, where did this all get me?
Crazy stuff. All right, so
I left my job. On leave. It wasn't, to take care of Jack, but it was just a leave. It wasn't like I was just like, Jack's gonna have brain surgery. I'll be back in 6 weeks. Okay. And so Jack got through, and I started a Twitter account for zero expectation, zero Jay. Like I didn't.
Where were you when you started the account? Because I've heard some accounts of this, and I've heard other accounts. Like, give me the physical location when you log on Twitter and you type in the words "a case." So anybody doesn't know, Ryan's handle is the best handle in all of Twitter. It's at a case of the golf one. So, a case of the Mondays. If you've ever heard that, it's a play obviously on that.
Yeah,
that's your Twitter handle. Like, give me the physical. Tell me, like, what's the ambiance? Like, I want to know everything about like this moment.
So we had a tiny house, a small little house in Lombard, Illinois, and my wife and I are both kind of like, we just don't. We like loud stuff, and we don't really care if people come in and are like, whatever. We had a pink wall in our living room, and it was a living room, dining room, because the house was tiny. It was everything, right? Yeah. And we had a desk.
They call that these days.
Yeah, open floor plan. It was because we had a tiny ass house, and so we had a desk in the middle of it, and I just remember the pink wall, and we had this pink painting of a piano, and I was just like, oh, I'll do this thing. There's no thought. So the handle is exactly how little thought I had. So my idea was a case of the Mondays. That was going to be the handle, and I was going to tweet out links to the Monday qualifiers. That was the idea. And I thought maybe 100 people would follow me. And
what
so
day of the week is it?
It was like, I don't know. It was like a Tuesday or Wednesday, and I knew that Monday was coming up. And so I put in a case of the Mondays. This is how little I knew about social media. Is like there was a character limit on what your handle could be. Like you can't get a case of the Mondays. It's not possible. And so I was like, tried a few other things, and finally Twitter just is like, oh, how about this? And it was like a case of the Golf 1. And I was like, well, this won't matter. Who cares? Like, yeah, sure, take it. And I didn't know how to put a profile picture. Like, I knew no one was going to care. So I was just like, a case of the Golf 1.
You're an egg account?
Yeah. It was an egg account. And I was just like, okay, that's it. And that was the start. And like, if I thought it was going to be profound, like obviously looking back, it's crazy, but like there was no and I just said, oh, I started a Twitter account today. And again, the original idea for those that listening that don't know about this side of golf is Monday qualifiers are run by PJ sections, and they're on different websites every week because different sections run the event. So people just didn't know where to find them. Like you have to be a super golf nerd to understand that North Florida is running the Valspar Monday qualifier next year, and they don't have Blue Golf, so you can't find it on Blue Golf. You got to go find it on Golf Genius, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So like the idea was like, just one place where you can find the link to Monday qualifiers.
You're going to aggregate information and send it out to people who had the same interests as you.
That's it.
So what was your first post? Hello World?
My first post was about the China tour. I don't know why. Don't know why. It was a link to the China PGA Tour China. I must have known somebody that was playing there or something. And from my caddy trips, I developed some relationships with players, and was I would go caddy for them if I had a week off from work, and it worked out. I caddied at Q School a few times for a guy named Ryan Yip who won on the Canadian Tour. I caddied for him when he won on the Canadian Tour. And so,
flag?
So that's a great mini tour story. Is I tried to take, I didn't know, and so I'm taking the flag off, and the GM of the course comes up and is like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
I was like, "I'm taking the flag," and he's like, "Yeah, you're not taking the flag." And I was like, "Oh," and so I do have I got the tournament to give me the bib, so I do have a bib.
It's a tradition. It's a tradition on the tour or any tour really now. If your player wins, the caddy gets the flag. So this is like an obscure event. What the first prize had to be? What, $2,000, $2,500?
No,
maybe?
This was the Canadian Tour was pretty good. It was $25,000 he got. I mean, that was
right. But the GM didn't want to buy a new flag. He
100%.
had 2 sets of flags.
Yeah, 100%.
35 flags. He needed 36 flags.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know why it was the China Tour, because I didn't. Yeah. I was just like, yeah, I'll post it.
So what's the ascent of the account? So you start the account, and then what's it start to do, or how often are you posting? I mean, this is not a lesson in how to grow an account on X, by the way. This is just an understanding of where, how long and where do we go, and I'm just curious.
I mean, I told Steve Allen this, but
Steve Allen, the golfer.
Steve Allen, the golfer, is my memory. I haven't looked back, but is my memory of the first quote unquote story I told. And so I started with just the links, and then I would I remember Steve being the first, and I just looked up. I didn't know Steve, never had a connection to him, like didn't know. I just looked up, but I knew who he was, and I knew he'd been out there forever. Yeah. And so I just looked up his stats, and I was like, Steve Allen Monday qualified for, I don't even remember, it doesn't matter, the X tournament. And he hasn't held status in 11 years, and he's, bounced back and forth. Like, it was a terrible tweet, but it was just like, oh, Steve, like, and I don't know, Jay, if I had 50 followers or 150, but I got like 10 likes, and I was like, oh. And then that kind of started it, and then I think I had like around 1,000, and I've told this story many times, but the Honda Classic, I somehow got a relationship with a section, PGA section, and they were feeding me information. And this is the definite, like, huge turning point. Not financially or anything like that.
But just frame this for me for a second. You have 1,000 followers. You're not trying to grow your audience on X. You're still quasi work. This is over a long period of time. You're back to work. Jack's health is normalizing, and you're monitoring it. So, like, we're at what, 1,000 over what, 6 months, 9 months?
No, it was pretty quick, Jay, and I didn't go back to work. We just extended it. I've never gone back to work. I'm still technically. The restaurant owner is a follower of mine, and we joke all the time that I'm still technically on leave. So, like, I've never officially turned in my resignation.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, I never went back to work full time. It was a pretty quick, and I don't remember the time that I had 1,000, and then again the PGA section from Florida fed me information about a Monday qualifier that had gone to Tuesday morning, and was just literally sending me, like, I think San Moon Bay was in the playoff, like, San Moon Bay's in the water. And I'm like, I would just tweet out, Sang Moon Bay just hit in the water. There was no added information, whatever. And then there was, like, I think 6 guys, and it went like 5 or 6 holes. A guy missed a short putt. I remember Paul Pastor, I think. And I literally just tweeting out like one sentence, like, this guy makes par. He's not through. Blah, blah, blah. Back those days, he had only 140 characters. So you really had to be precise.
What year is this?
2018, I think. I'm pretty
7
sure.
Years ago. 2008.
And so, I was supposed to take the kids to school, and this playoff kept going, and I remember tweeting out, should I take my kids to school or keep giving you updates from this playoff? And I just, again, it was probably 25 responses, but it felt like 1 million. And everybody was like, yes, you have to stay. And I was like, okay, I'm staying. And back to my understanding wife, is like, she just laughs at it. And it's like,
it's funny.
And I literally did not take my kids to school until like an hour late, until the playoff ended. And I just went out. My kid threw me under the bus because I was like, oh, one of those mornings. And she's like, you were on the computer. I was like, oh, right. You're grounded.
Now, by the way, that's different than the Speedway story, right? This is way before the Speedway event.
Yeah, way before. Yeah, way before.
Okay. So out of that event from the Honda, how many followers do you end up, like, do you remember, like, where, at what point, I think I found you at like 20,000 followers, which in my mind, I think is like, I want to say 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, something like that.
Maybe earlier, but right around there. But like, at what point are you like, I got something here, like this has merit?
Yeah, I mean, this is as oblivious as I was, and my wife and I were, to social media. I had like 5,000 followers, and I was like, maybe we can make this a business.
Yeah.
And everyone, and I was like, yeah, that seems like a total okay. And it's impossible. Like, looking back, it's insane that I did that.
And basically, she's supporting financially. She's supporting the family with.
Oh yeah, we were broke, Jay. Like, I mean, we were very much. I mean, we're not much better off now, but we were broke. I mean, like, I'd worked for a restaurant company. It was a good friend of mine. It went under, and I had a van as my company car that was wrapped as a bowl of soup. And because it was, this is, I haven't told this story. This is a pretty funny story. It was a very old, like it's an old van, it's a minivan. And he couldn't afford to pay me. The restaurants went under, and he couldn't afford to pay me my last check. We're good friends. And he's like, oh, just keep the van. And I was like, okay. He's like, they're not going to come out for that. I was like, okay. And so that was our car. My wife and I went outside one day and pulled the stickers off. It was like, for those that don't know, the wrap on a thing is just a sticker. We spent hours and hours and hours pulling the Zoop van off.
You never thought about just keeping it?
Oh, I tried forever. We had it forever, Jay. We drove it up till.
You didn't keep it with the soup wrap on it. You didn't say like, "This is just I need."
No, I don't know why I didn't. I think I was mad that the restaurants went under it. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
Do you have a picture of it?
it's what?
Do you have a picture of it?
Oh yeah, tons. I'll send it to you.
Have you ever posted it?
I don't know if I've ever posted it. I posted the van, but post wrap, and so. It was missing. We took out the middle seat because we would deliver catering orders in it. And so the kids, first of all, like you can't ever get the full sticker off. So there was like parts of the sticker still on. And the kids sat like a limo. When they got in, there was no middle seat. They went to the back seat. And so they loved it because you could spread out. When we took the dogs, we would drive it to Alpena. We were in Chicago at the time, and we would drive to see my parents. And the dogs would sleep in the middle, and my kids were in the back. That's insane. That's how broke we were, Jay. That's how broke we were.
Just as a father, your kids must have been mortified.
Oh my God, I don't think they did. They were young enough that they weren't. If they would now,
could you imagine doing it?
Oh my God, now. Holy hell.
Ryan, when you eventually make it, you gotta get a van and wrap it like the soup van.
Oh my God. Steph was like that. COVID is in here. Steph lived she was a nurse going in COVID. She lived in a motorhome in the parking lot in our driveway for a while. Our driveway was so tiny. Someone donated there was some website that gave nurses and doctors places to stay. Oh, there's so many wild times. Anyway, 10,000. I went to work at as a bartender and server when I could to like kind of help make ends meet and do this on the side. And then 10,000 is when the PJ Tour followed me, and that was like, oh, like this is a thing.
I remember you going back to work as a server because you used to tweet about how you did and how the owner of the was so good to you and how he, took care of you and how much you hated, right? And how you also would tweet about how like the guests at the bar would be condemned to watching the Corn Ferry Tour.
Yeah. 100%
on the TV. It's what you were watching, and that's that.
I would be tweeting crouching down tweeting as I'm watching. So I was like working two jobs at the same time.
But I think people love you because you're just so real. You've always been genuine. You've always been authentic. You've never shied away from either your struggles growing up or through your mid-20s or, what you've kind of lived through, even now where you're entrepreneurial, but you're still not exactly where you want to be. Just FYI, newsflash, none of us are where we want to be. I mean, I'm part of this founders group called Hampton, and there's guys that have sold their business for 9 figures and cashed out for, hundreds of millions of dollars. And some of them are lost. Like they talk about how like they just can't find purpose. And I know it seems like, oh, well, big, baby, you have all that money and you can't find your purpose. But like, if you're not happy, you're not happy, Yeah. That's hard stuff.
I say it all the time, Jay, is like, we were happy before, but my marriage is better. I'm a better father. My wife and I are together. My wife works from home now. She's a nurse, phone triage. She works from home. My kids just came in from a half a day of school. I'm with my kids more than I've ever been. Like, you have to pay your bills. I'm not trying to pretend like financial does not cause stress, but this has changed my life.
Maybe back to Alpena?
Just having this account, it's made me, because of what I went through, I say it all the time, is like, I just chase my own happiness.
So as an entrepreneur then, if I were to say to you money or happiness, look, the decisions you made when you were moving out of Chicago area, cold, you can't cover golf in Chicago, you only get a limited season, the expenses, you were going to Florida, you were going to where golf's hub was. Now I know your pop got sick, and I know, that was important to you, but like, you went north, not south. And not only have you went north, but you bought north. You didn't for a minute, but then you did. So like you as an so many entrepreneurs and founders are always like people who are the outside looking in think that entrepreneurship is about money. But you've behaved, not that you don't want it, but you've somewhat behaved in a way that's antithetical in the golf industry to maximizing your financial potential.
I think, again, I didn't think of it as an entrepreneur for a long time, Jay, but once I did, it's probably stupidity or overconfidence or whatever. I was just like, we'll figure out how to make this. And Steph and I say this to each other all the time, is like, we've been in worse positions, right? Like, Steph
can't it just be priorities? Why does it have to have the negative connotation, Ryan,
it doesn't,
of stupidity or overconfidence? Why can't it just be that you saw the mortality of your own child at under 2 years old, you watched your father, who you were close to, pass, family's the most important thing in your life.
100%.
I choose family over everything else in the world, and my family is in Alpena, and this is where my kids are going to have the best chance to grow up with their grandmother. They don't have their grandfather now. My marriage is going to be better. And, oh, by the way, like, I'm going to make a living, but it's not going to maximize the most that I could possibly make. I mean, to me, that's just such an empowering story, because I think so many people sit on the sidelines because they don't have $1 billion idea. It's like, dude, Steve Jobs is a one in a 10 trillion people. Like, I'm not Steve Jobs. I'm me. I'm Jay Sapovits. I'm really great at some things, really bad at other things. But like, to me, I just think you're such a breath of fresh air like that.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate it, Jay. And I mean, there is of course, there's tiny negative things about being an entrepreneur and growing a business, but my 8 years in this, I wouldn't trade for anything. And there's been some tough times. And I've $1,053 in my bank account today, but just paid the mortgage, and my wife gets paid tomorrow, and the company will send me a check next week. Yeah. And it's like, we're like it. I wouldn't trade that for anything. We've made the right decisions for me. And
so, talking about the right decisions for you, you're trying to grow your business, which want companies to sponsor your account. Like, you've got a great company in Dunning that supports the heck out of you. That's awesome. And other sponsors, right? You just signed recently a shoe company, which, is new into the game, and others. But at the same time, start a foundation which take potential sponsorship dollars from your main account and essentially gives it to underprivileged kids who you were trying to expose to the game of golf. It's kind of unheard of. Most people start foundations after they've had a certain level of success, but you didn't. You started a foundation as you were trying to make and grow your own business, and you've started a foundation. And I think, you could argue that one's more successful financially than the other, and not to your personal gain, but to your spiritual and emotional gain. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I mean, the foundation is, like, the foundation is, I get, when the kids that we are helping get older, there's going to be a small percentage, whatever that is introduced to the game because of our help, and they will appreciate that when they're 25 or 30 or whatever. But the fact is, they're high school kids who are just trying a new sport. It's not like they're wonderfully excited. A lot of them don't know what golf entails and what we did to get them the equipment. They play basketball, and a basketball just shows up, and they don't like, oh, this is great. So they're just playing golf. So as it stands now, I get more out of it than they do. I hope that down the road, there's going to be hopefully hundreds of people that are like, oh, I got introduced to the game because I got clubs from a high school. I couldn't afford it back then, and now I play regularly. Like, we don't care what they shoot. And so I get more out of it now than I do. And again, this is all back to my wife. That remember the conversation is like, it grew. I started to get like small sponsors. I worked for the PGA Tour writing an article a few times, and my wife, we had done good stuff. We had raised money for high schools, and I'd helped a lot of players get money and stuff like that. And then I just remember a conversation is just like, hey, we're going to make this work. And you have a platform. Let's do some good. And, that just stuck with me. And so without Chris, obviously Chris,
it's just really hard. It's just really hard to consider that, someone who has not personally put themselves in a financial, position to, at a comfortable level, gives to other people prior to that. It's unheard. It's unheard of, right? I mean, that's not how most people do it. I'm saying financially, monetarily, it's not how most people do it. You split attention between your own personal selfish gain or your family's gain with the altruism of giving to other people. I do it with my time, right? I volunteer and do things with my time, but not my focus and attention. I mean, you outwardly drive traffic and business and to this foundation. I mean, it's remarkable.
I mean, I appreciate it very much. I was a selfish person for a long time in my life, and I say it all the time, is I try to make up for that portion of my life every day now. And again, people can say like, oh, like I'm sitting in my bedroom. I have a house. I have a car that's paid for. My kids don't want for anything. They have plenty of whatever toys and whatnot. And so, I'm very lucky. And if I didn't go through what I've gone through, I wouldn't say that, Jay. It was like,
yeah, we are very lucky. The golf community, the X community, we're lucky to have you. You aggregate people together that have good intentions and thoughts, and your currency is love and dignity. And it's very hard to find people who are just genuine and real. You're awesome, Ryan.
Thanks so much, Jay. I mean, again, I'm amazingly lucky. I've met some amazing people that have helped me along the way. I know you don't like to create credit, but you're amongst that group. And being an entrepreneur is not easy. But I always say is I've been in much worse positions. I was in a hospital in Las Vegas after trying to jump out of a window. So being out of money is far down the list of worries in my life.
I love it. Awesome. Well, look, it looks like you've got an endeavor to get onto.
No, I don't. my computer's dying, so I'm good for whatever.
Wait a minute. Literally, your computer. This is so on brand for you.
Yo, I just didn't have my plug, so no. Please continue. I'm good.
That's completely on brand, by the way. The misspellings.
Yeah.
The computer is about to run out of energy.
Yeah, I have. And I lost my computer. This thing doesn't really work well. My dog just jumped out. I mean, this is for those that are listening that have no idea who I am. This is exactly a discount charger that doesn't really charge, a computer that the battery dies in 30 minutes, half mutt behind me. We bought, this is a great story, Jay.
I love you.
Knox, my wife wanted a dog, and she found an ad on some shady website for a black lab for $500, which is obviously shady. And the guy, I said, can we meet the parents? No. And he said, I'll meet you in the Home Depot parking lot. And he gets out, he has neck tattoos all over. The dog, definitely stolen. 100% stolen.
You have a hot dog?
He had this dog, he had neck tattoos. He takes, which is now Knox behind us, out. He stinks like crazy. He's not a lab. I mean, he's mostly lab, but he's not a lab. And I was like, hey, man, this isn't a lab. I'll give you $400. He's like, no, $500. And I go, how about $400? He's like, no, definitely $500. And I was like, why am I arguing with this guy who's stolen this dog? His neck tattoos everywhere. I have $500. Just give him $500. And so now here he is. It's the most on-brand dog ever. He's
your dog is named Kenny Knox. Kenny Knox is one of the only guys ever to win out of a Monday qualifier, and totally on brand. You know, we didn't talk too much golf, truthfully, and I'm okay with that. It was nice to get some of your background, and yes, we could read it, but hearing you share it is always, for me, it's illuminating. And like I said, you're just one of the real ones. We're going to have a black screen that'll have all your contact information up on it for your X account, your Instagram account, your podcast that you do, which is Any Given Sunday, which highlights the stories of golf, because you talk golf, but you also talk life, and you're real and human. And I've yet to encounter a situation where someone you've run across hasn't just felt so positively about you. And like I said, I think that if I were to give one takeaway coming out of this conversation with you, it's that a lot of people have different reasons for becoming an entrepreneur, and it doesn't always point back to money. Sometimes it's freedom, sometimes it's family, and it's a stark reminder, because it's really hard not to get caught up in that chase for the dollars.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the time, Jay, and your help and your friendship. But yeah, I coached my kids' basketball team this year. I'm always on my phone, working stories, watching golf. Like, my phone's never out of my hand. I'm like a lot of people. Like, I say I'm going to take a day off today, and then I got a story. But the freedom that I've been able to have because of this job is priceless. That's an overused statement, but it's the facts. And I get to wake up every day and do something I love. And if that means that, I'm going to drive around a Zoop van for a long time, that was limo style. It was worth it.
So funny, because people have asked me like, what are you doing a pod for? You don't have a huge audience. Is it going to, what are you trying to accomplish from it? Honestly, Ryan, like, if I just accomplish having a meaningful conversation one-on-one with people that I respect and care for like this, if this is all this ever turns into, and this is what I do like every week and have these type of conversations, and it's not the best production and I don't amass follower, whatever, like, it's worth it. Like, this is worth it. This made my week. Like, being able to spend a quality hour with you, mostly focused till you ran out of juice. It just made my week. It's awesome. I can tell you, was a lot. It's a lot more fun than refreshing the leaderboard of an event to see if a multi-millionaire has made more millions.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it, Jane. To add to that point is, I get to do that every day. That's what I do for a living. Is like, and this is my entrepreneurial advice to people listening. And I always say this is like, you can't fake authenticity, right? And I continue to do it and because I don't want to get away what's made me successful is I write stories that I want to write, that I'm interested in. I wouldn't write these stories, but I would be interested and read about them and go seek them out. If it was just me at home reading the newspaper, like I was, 15, 16 years old, like I don't care. Like, of course I care.
You'd be looking at who's 73rd on the Alps Tour money list, whether you told anybody about it or you didn't tell anybody about it.
Exactly. And obviously I need people to read it and follow my stuff and all of that kind of stuff. But really at the end of the day, when I send a tweet out or I write a story, I don't really care who reads it. I liked it. Like, I wanted to write that story. And that's what I get by having my own, company, my own website, is I get to do what I do every day. So I get to talk to golfers. I just got a text from Kevin Alwyn, who people who follow my account know is a mini tour legend in golf. And he sent me, he shot 64 with no birdies. He had 14 pars and 4 eagles. And I'm going to tweet it out, but I don't care if anyone cares about it because I think it's hilarious and I think it's great. And that's I get to do that every day. And there again, I got $1,053 in my bank account. I also I get to talk to golfers my whole life, and we'll make the mortgage payment next month. Next month's a long way away.
I love it. Ryan French, ladies and gentlemen, he's a one of a kind. He's a great follow, great person. And really happy that you joined me. And this is, oh shoot. Oh my God. I didn't hit
what?
I didn't hit record.
You did.
Yeah, I'm just playing with it.
Oh, because I did that. For those listening, I did that once. I did a whole podcast with a person and didn't record it.
Hey, was I not going to do it? Come on.
Oh my God, it's so good. So good. Well done.
All right. Right. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for listening to JaySapChats. I hope you leave a little bit better than you came. And here's wishing you a beautiful week.